Once upon a time, there were two sisters, and they grew up together, laughing and singing and dancing. They loved to laugh, they loved to sing, and they loved to dance. And they did it every chance they got. They would do it at the dinner table, and their parents would say, "You two sisters, stop singing and dancing at the dinner table." And they would do it in school, and the teacher would say, "You two sisters, stop singing and dancing in school." And they would do it in their church, and the priests would say, "You two sisters, stop singing and dancing. Act like the other girls. Do what normal people do so that you can get through your life. Remember, you're going to have to work for a living, and singing and dancing is not going to give you a husband, raise you children, or give you an income." But the two sisters wouldn't stop singing and dancing. And so the teacher went to the parents, and the priest went to the parents, and they all talked about what to do with the two sisters. And the parents said, "We're up to our eyebrows in this nonsense. We've had it. We can't take it anymore. They're singing and dancing, and we can't do our work, and we can't wash the dishes, and they do it all night long. We can't even get sleep." And the priest said, "I can't get through my own sermons. Nobody's paying attention to me. They're all turning around and snickering and laughing at the girls." And the teacher said, "I can't teach any of the other students. They keep distracting me. They keep distracting the students." And they all agreed there was only one thing to do. And that was to take the two sisters deep into the forest and leave them there. Because maybe it would take the sisters a long time to get out of the forest and find their way home, and they might learn some important lessons about buckling down and being serious about their survival. That nature would teach them, surviving would teach them, and then they would come home and be reasonable. So, one Saturday, the parents and the priest and the teacher took the girls for a picnic, and they led them deep, deep into the forest, further than anyone gone, further than the girls had gone to pick mushrooms, further than they had gone to scrape the bark for the spicy insides to put on their waffles, further than they had gone to listen to the birds sing the rare songs that they would repeat in their songs and dance. They went to the very heart, the dark heart of the forest. And the parents and the teacher and the priest tricked the girls and said, "All right, we're going to play hide and seek. Close your eyes and count to 1,000. And we're going to hide. And then you have to come and find us. And you have to look everywhere. We might even be back in the town. But count to 1,000. And when the girls counted, the parents, the teacher, and the priest ran home. For they were old enough to know the forest well enough to get home quickly. But the girls were relatively new to the forest. And so they counted to 1,000. And when they were done, they went looking for the parents and the teacher and the priest. But they didn't look very hard. Do you know why? Can you guess why? Because they were having too much fun with each other, laughing and singing and dancing. They completely forgot about the game. And they thought, you know what? They'll come and find us later. We're kids. They'll come and find us surely. Let's enjoy the moss on the feel of the moss on our bare feet. Let's enjoy the animals. Let's listen to the birds' song and see if we can take up some of their melodies for new songs for ourselves. And they danced through the woods, letting the bird song give them a place to go, following where the birds were singing, and not making any plans. They just went with what they heard and what inspired them. Well, they were completely lost. They were going completely the wrong direction from their home. If they had been looking for home, they were never going to get there. And they were out there for at least 24 hours. And by the dawn of the second day, they slept overnight in a bed of ferns that were so very soft. And then, in the next morning, they woke up and they did a soft fern dance, and their limbs wafted like the ferns. And then later, they had some berries that they found for breakfast, and they went chasing bird songs to get even more songs. And they put words to the songs, and the words were things like, "I like orange cheese, I like pink berries, let's make a cheese with orange and pink berries." I'm not doing the song justice because I'm a nun and I don't sing very well. You know how nuns are. Not the ones that sing Gregorian chants. They sing very well. I'm a drag nun, and we let the regular drag queens do all the singing. And so, like this, they went and discovered new places in the forest that had never been seen before by any of the villagers. And eventually, they happened upon a clearing. A little spot where the trees let in some sunlight. And in the clearing, there was a circle made by little mushrooms growing in a circle. And they came into the circle, and there were 2 living beings already there in the circle of the mushrooms. One was a funny little person with a pointy hat and pointy ears, and wearing velvet, blue, sort of a dusky dark gray blue velvet. And the pointy hat was made of the same velvet. And on the garment, in gold, were little moons and stars, and what they would later discover were astrological signs of the constellations. And next to the funny little fellow, or person, because it wasn't quite sure if it was a fellow, was a cow. And the cow had black and white. It was all white with black spots, but the spots made pictures. And one of the pictures looked like a mouse, and one of the pictures looked like an octopus. And the sisters didn't know what that was because they were landlocked and hadn't been to the ocean and did not know about octopuses. And the funny thing was, every time they went up to the little funny person and they said, "Hello, who are you?" And the funny little person said, "Hello. I have no idea what my name is, for I am a wizard. And wizards follow the path of wisdom. That's why we're called wise ards. And we practice all forms of ridiculous and absurd magic because it pleases us. Would you like to be turned into a salamander? Or perhaps we can tell you how to interpret your dreams." And the little girl said, "Well, then why don't you know your name? You have such a fabulous occupation. Surely you must have put your name on a business card." And the wizard said, No. It's very important if you're going to be a wizard. You cannot know things. Because, as our ancient wizardly texts say, those who know don't know. And those who don't know, they know. So we don't know. And that's why we're wizards. I am the wizard of this particular part of the forest. Why here? I haven't the vaguest idea. What are you doing? And the little girls explained that they were singing and dancing and laughing, and that they were following a trail of different birds and their songs, trying to pick them up to make new songs. Now, here's the funny thing, because every time the girls looked and talked to the wizard, they looked away from the cow. And then they looked back at the cow, and the pictures that the spots would make on the cow had changed. The octopus had turned into a sandwich, and the mouse had turned into someone running for political office. And then they looked away again, and they looked back, and the person running for political office had turned into a pomegranate, and the sandwich had turned into the capital of Latvia. And so it went. And so they said, we have our own kind of magic, but we have to know things for it. We call it song, and we have to know the words and the melody of the song. Is that really magic? Because every time we sing one, it changes our heart. Sometimes we sing a very sad song. We learned that from the mourning dove. And our hearts get very melancholic, which we think is poignant and beautiful. And the wizard said, that is a very powerful magic. To sing out your sadness, it can bring people who don't know they're sad. It can bring up their sadness, and so that they can know that they're sad and work through it and deal with it. That's very liberating. And the girl said, well, there's other songs too. We have a song that we learned from the eagle and from the hawk, and we put them together, and we call it the angry song. And the wizard said, that's a very powerful song, because sometimes people don't know they're angry, or they lie to themselves and pretend they're not angry. But if you're singing an angry song, that's a perfect place to put your anger, to be angry. Sing it out loud, because once it comes out of you, it's gone. It's free. You are liberated from your anger and don't have to suffer in the heat of it. And then the girl said, well, And then there's the chickadee. And from the chickadee, we learned giggling songs, happy songs. And the blue jay gave a song that remembers your home and wants to go back and feel happiness drinking cocoa with your grandparents. That's what we got from the blue jay. And the wizard said, these songs are extremely important because after you've sung a song of sadness and after you've sung a song of anger, it is very good to refresh your spirit with the song of happiness and giggling. You are song wizards, or if you still think you're little girls, because that's knowing something too, you could be witches. I believe that's what people decide to call women who are wizards. And the little girl said, well, we don't know. We'll let other people think up the names. We're just going to sing and dance. And the wizard said, good. Now, it's going to rain tomorrow, so I know this because I'm a wizard. So I think we should find shelter. And the little girl said, well, we had a house with parents in it, but they took us into the middle of the forest, and they left us there. I think they wanted us to learn how to make things out of branches, and learn how to hike, and cook things on a campfire, rubbing sticks together. We don't know. And the wizard said, well, we could try to help you find your parents' house, or we can follow the cow, because the cow always knows where to go. And the little girl said, why does the cow, with the sandwich and the pomegranates and the person running for office on their sides, why does the cow always know? And the wizard said, because it's a cow, and cows don't know much more than eating grass and giving milk. So they don't know. So clearly they must have the strongest intuition. That's why I follow cows. Do you know there's a country in which cows are considered holy and they are worshipped? I think this means we should follow the cow. And so the little girls and the wizard offered some delicious leaves to the cow and asked the cow to please wander. And the cow looked at them with her long lashes and said in French, moo, and wandered. And they followed the cow for 3 hours. And sometimes the cow would make cow patties, and they stepped around those, and then continued to walk on, until at the end of the 3rd hour, the cow led them to a little cabin that was made entirely of birchwood. And so it was all white on the outside, and on the inside, someone had slathered it with clay. And then they had set a fire in the hearth, and they made it so burn, so bright and so hot that it had cured the clay like a kiln, and it gave it a solid wall like a stucco interior. And the wizard and the 2 sisters decided that they would stay in this cabin. And they stayed there not for 1 day, not for 2 days. They stayed there for the rest of their lives. And do you know what happened? Every so often, a little girl, a little boy, or someone who was lucky enough not to know what they were, would find their way to the cabin, following a cow, or a squirrel, or a fox. And they would build an addition on the cabin all together. And they would stay there, and they would study how to sing songs of sadness and anger, of melancholy, of thoughtfulness, songs of gratefulness and kindness, songs of might and fighting, and of course, songs of giggling and laughter and happiness, until there was a whole collection of wise people, sometimes called witches, sometimes called wizards, and sometimes just called Sally. The end.